Hello, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this 16th episode in our podcast. Today, we have a very good friend. He's a Spanish magician, an amazing Spanish magician from the south, from Huelva, but he has been living in Granada, in Madrid, and many other places in Norwegian as well, right?
I was in Norway studying for some time.
Yeah, in Norway, yeah. So, well, he's going to tell us more about it. So please, a very big applause for Hugo Maximiliano. Woo-hoo! Oh yeah. How are you doing, Hugo?
I'm fine, thank you. First of all, I want to apologize just in case my English is not perfect. Sometimes I'm going to make many maybe grammar mistakes, but I think it's fine.
Well, they have been suffering me, so no worries, because I've been improving my English every podcast, every week. So no worries.
Wow.
It can never be as bad as Alvaro in Finland.
Yeah, totally. Well, so let's start about your magic life, because some people don't know you. I know, like in Spain, you're quite popular because of your trajectory, your career, obviously because of your awards. But many people out of Spain don't know you. So please, who's Hugo Maximiliano, and what kind of awards and this kind of things you got during these years?
Okay, well, I'm Hugo Maximiliano. I'm a Spanish magician. I started with magic, I think, when I was like 15, 16, and not this kind of since I was a child, I always wanted to be a magician. No, it was like when I was a teenager, a friend of mine showed me some tricks I wanted to learn. He recommended me a book. Of course, I don't want to recognize, but I downloaded on a PDF. But I get once I started, I was like hooked by magic, because I was like all day long practicing with the cards. It was something where it catches you. It's something very special. And from then I was like very into magic. And some years later, when I started to go to conventions, meeting more people, some magicians. And then later I wanted to start, like, as you say, like going to magic competitions or contests. It took me some years. It was something that I really wanted to do for many years, but I don't know how to say it. I was never satisfied with, because I wanted to do something like really special, something really good. I got like really good people that like references, like people to imitate. So I wanted to do something very, very special, but at the end you just need to do something. And then, well, finally I did it, and I was very lucky, because in my first competition here in Spain, I won like a very well-known prize. Is like award, which is like the Premio Ascanio. And then Scania's award, and then I started going around Spain, and then I went to a European Magic Symposium in Milan. I was in FISM in 2015. I was also in Blackpool in European FISM. I was third in Blackpool. I won something else in Spain, but it was I will say it's just something that is a phase, like a period of time that you want to try, and you go on. It's not forever. Actually, I'm not like nowadays. I'm not that into the magic world or magic community. This kind of magic for magicians like this. I perform in a small theater every week, twice a week. I'm more into the like lay audience, real magic, what I will say. It's something that I enjoy both sides. I really like to perform for magicians and all this like more in deep kind of, but I also really enjoy to perform for lay audiences, and I have these both sizes to be like I have been in the competitions, but also in the performing area. I don't want to keep talking.
Well, because you live in Madrid right now, isn't it? So many people don't know, but we were talking the other day with Miguel Angel G and with you, like, and with other friends like Diego and Munoz. And the thing is, during just 1 week, the week that I was in Madrid, like last week, we were counting more or less more than 60 different shows in the same week in Madrid. It was like, what the fuck? It's like the main center, you know, in the whole world for magic, and especially for close-up magic, but for magic. How is this situation for you? Like, how is living in Madrid under this panorama?
Well, I'm not sure if there is like 60, but for sure there are many. I will say probably the play world with most like magic shows every week. I will say that's for sure. I don't know. I mean, especially now, you know, this like weird times after COVID, everything with theaters and performing, it's starting to be like normal again. But I don't know. In general, I think it's maybe because here I'm not aware of how weird is that there is so many shows. But I don't know if you say like as a performer or as a magician who has this like variety of shows. Because first, I always love to go to as a spectator, because it's something that for me it's something like it's kind of always surprised me that many magicians don't usually go to watch magic shows, which I always love to go to see as many as I could. And now as a performer, I don't really notice that having so many shows is a problem as a professional to have like an audience, you know. I don't know if you say it in this way or.
Yeah, because for you it's easier like into business in Madrid and in a different city, or because I mean magic is probably more popular in Madrid and in a different city, but at the same time you have like more offers. So that's what I meant.
I mean, I will say that, of course, because Madrid is the biggest. I don't know, but I will say that it's one of the biggest city. There are more people to attend to shows, all this kind of entertainment. So it doesn't matter that there are like a huge offer of shows, because there are a lot of people that usually goes frequently every week to see some show like comedy, magic, theater. There are a huge variety of shows here in Madrid. So I will say that in general, it's not a problem. Of course, if you go to any other city in Spain, probably there's going to be no shows like like that. So Madrid is something special about it.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
it's good. Well, Rico, go on with your questions.
My question. Well, you mentioned earlier that you noticed a lot of magicians don't like to go to magic shows, where you've always really enjoyed that. And what do you think that other magicians have missed out on, or maybe better, like what have you learned from going to other people their shows?
I don't know. First of all, I will say that it just I mean, if you like something, you usually like to go to watch or to see or to enjoy the kind of art that you like. So I mean that first of all, but what I have learned, I will say that probably because here in Spain we have like everybody knows like a group of really good magicians. In general, the magic here is good. Not only that, I would say because there are many magicians. Everybody knows that there are many magicians. Spanish magic is very well known, but there are not so many magicians who has a full 1 hour show. But here in Spain, there are many magicians who have a 1 hour show, and I think that probably because of that, here in Spain, many people like Alvaro also or me, we wanted to have our own shows because we thought that that was possible. That magic was not only for parties or corporate, like, which is kind of different kind of set of magic, but this kind of 1 hour show where people came to see me, and you can do like close-up magic, which is something like, because that's another special thing. I know there are some other places in the world, but here we have like small theaters where you can perform close-up magic, which is something that is not that common or possible in many places. So because I watched that it was possible, I wanted to have my own show. And not only that, I think that I will say that maybe one of the things that the most important things that I learned was like, well, I don't know if it was good or bad, but when you see so many good shows, like from big magicians, like, I don't know, Miguel Ángel Gea or Alberto Figueredo or whatever, many magicians, you have like a very high standards. And sometimes that's something that could be like a problem, because if you have a very high standard of what you should do, it can prevent you to do it because you think you are not ready. And that's something that happened to me for some time, that you always want to, saying that with competitions. I wanted to do my show, but I was never sure that, I don't know if it's good enough. This is not like it's not like my own material, all of them, because that's another thing. When you see that so many magicians that are very like have so much like personal material, you feel that you cannot do the same stuff. At the end, it's not that difficult, that bad. I mean, I do so many not original material, not copy, but I mean, but for example, if you do the flick the finger, the best trick ever in card magic is at the beginning you feel bad because you think if some magician came to my show, they will think like, wow, such an easy trick, but at the end of the day, it's an amazing trick.
Yes.
So I'm changing the topic, but I will say that maybe that, I mean, first of all, I will say that going to see some shows give you two things. If you go for a really bad show, you notice what you don't want to do, because you say, I don't want to do something like this. But if you go to very good shows, you set some kind of standards. So it somehow encourage you to do something good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Criteria. I don't know.
It's very interesting. But you mentioned before, like you do a show twice a week now, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, it's interesting how you said that because there are so many magic shows around in Spain, or at least in Madrid, that this also gave you the idea, like, wow, there's like magic is much deeper, and instead of just showing people a 10-minute set at a party, you can also like really take them down the rabbit hole and show them something really deep and forge this whole experience for them. But you also said that because of that, it's sometimes very difficult to start, because of course, like many people, you're a bit perfectionistic, you want to do something that's amazing, right? So what was the time when you felt ready to start making the show?
Okay, right. That's a good question. I should say, first of all, that that's only, it's my personal experience, because the way I am. So, and sometimes this thing about being very perfectionist, or sometimes it's maybe it's to be insecure. It's not, it's difficult to make to set the line. But yeah, I will say that maybe you it's very difficult to know when you are ready, because we expect to feel that we are ready, but this feeling never, it's not going to came to you. I mean, if you wait to feel that you are ready, it's not going to happen. You, in some moment, you need to do it. So I guess that it was more a matter. It was more because I had the chance to do it, because one friend of mine told me that there was some new space that they were looking for someone to do some kind of show, and I say, he asked me, do you think that do you want to do a show there? And I was like, yeah, why not? Actually, Alvaro, I think you were in my place like some days before I did my first show in Madrid, because I have some videos practicing the tricks with you.
Especially, I think you were doing like the poker demonstration, probably. Like
I don't remember, but well, the thing is that I had the chance, and the thing that the key, especially for people who has this trouble, like they don't know when to start or if they're ready. My mindset has changed with time. I mean, now I think that I usually like push people to go for it, not as soon as possible, but as soon as possible when they have like something not perfect, because you don't need to go for perfection. You need to go for something which is like good enough. So because I always say that the learning process needs this performing experience, because you first study, prepare the show, decide which is the repertoire, and then perform. And after you take the feedback, and with that feedback you keep working. But if you stop here because you are afraid to perform, because you think that you are not ready, or you have some like I don't know, insecurities, you are like not going through all the learnings. You need to perform. Of course, you don't need to do it professionally. You don't need to go for a 1 hour full show on a theater or a small theater. I perform in a small theater, like 20, 40 people, depending on the day, which is nice because it's like feels like very close. But you don't need to do that, but you need to perform. You need to perform. That's something that I always recommend, because you need that to keep learning. So the thing is, basically, it was something that happens. I always wanted. I never felt I was ready, but I had the chance to do that. So what I did, and that's I took like which tricks I have. The one that I was more used to perform, things that you know that you kind of like control, you know, the timing, you know. So I took it. I kind of place every trick in some kind of a structure, which was nice, with a whole thing. And I just did it. And from there, you start working. and when you have that experience, you feel good about it, because you say yourself, I did it, and the experience was nice. Everybody liked it. So I should do it again, because you need that experience to have the feedback.
Yeah. Well, I like to think like it is compared like becoming a father. I mean, well, we know like all the differences, but like becoming a father, you never feel ready for it, and you never know how difficult is this till you became a father. And naturally, for me, when I decided to prepare my show, and I think we've talked about it like in some time ago, like yeah, you present the show. The first one you're a little bit nervous, the second one it's okay, but in the fourth time, the fifth time, you realize like, oh, I should change this and I should change this. And when you have changed like a lot of things after 2 years performing, you look back at the first show and you say like, oh my God, I did a completely bullshit. How was it possible? And I didn't see that, you know, and a friend tells you like, why don't you do this? And I say, oh my God, it was in front of my eyes and I didn't see it, you know, like, so yeah, I really agree. Like, we should start performing when we feel ready, and we learn like faster and faster.
Yeah, and everybody is going to be nervous. Everybody is going to be insecure, but that's part of the process. I don't think that anyone has gone for their first show totally confident, knowing that they have everything in control and the show is going to be amazing. That confidence, it's only built after many shows, which is something. But there has to be the first one. So you need to start somewhere, and you will learn in the process. But you need to start. It doesn't matter that it's not perfect. And as you say, when you take a look to the past, you will see that the show has changed a lot. You will say that was rubbish, maybe not that bad, but you will say, yeah, I improve it. So because the problem could be that if you have been performing in 2 years and your show have not changed at all, something happened.
Yeah. So yeah, do you think it's the same with competitions, right? Or you think it's like just I don't know, because we have the example of Rubiales, this a magician from Spain. I don't know, Rico, if you know him by the name. Maybe if you see a picture of him.
I've heard of the name, yeah.
Yeah, so this guy, after competing in different conventions, blah, blah, suddenly 1 year he went to Ascanius Memorial. Do you remember this year? Hugo, he was just like a consolidated magician. He was pretty popular in Spain, and he was starting to travel out of Spain. And suddenly he decided to go to a competition, or it isn't the last example, you know, like there are more of them. But in my case, I mean, I feel like I'm still, because of my age, maybe not because of the process, because I don't thinking of competition, but because of my age, like many people at 26 still on competition or starting in competitions. But for me, it was like surprising. How do you understand like the competitions and all these things?
Well, I should say that maybe my thoughts about competitions are different to what was in the past. I think that competitions, it's some period of time that we usually go through when we are young in general. Like, as you can see, most of the people who are on competitions are like kind of young people, maybe from 20 to 30s. I think it's a period of time when you are like very active. You want to kind of prove who you are in front of your peers. Well, not exactly like this, but it's like a period of time that you want, when you build some recognize among your your friends. In my case, but the problem with competitions is, I don't know if maybe if we take something from what I was saying before. The problem with competitions is that it's a set of magic. It's like 10 minutes, which probably you are never going to perform in your life in a real situation for real people. We all know that. The thing is that we all accept this this thing, but the problem with magic, the problem with I mean, the good and the bad. I really enjoyed that time because it's something that helps you to be creative. You learn a lot in the process. Usually you share a lot with with some other friends, and you have some auto feedback. It's a very creative time. Probably my competition period was my most creative time, keeping in mind that I don't consider myself like a very creative magician, but it was a time that I was very active and thinking about it. Yeah, and I always wanted to find somewhere to do my routine, which is something, another thing that I don't know, because when you are in this period, you usually go to many conventions and you see many competition acts, and you know, well, and you notice, or at least you feel most of the people has, I'm not going to say never, but they haven't performed that that act so many times before the competition. I know people that first time they perform in public, the competition act was on the actual competition.
I know someone as well, but I'm not going to say the name. Say it, be honest.
No, I'm not talking about anyone. But it's something that, it's something that it's easy to understand, because as we see, I mean, most of the competition acts require some conditions which are impossible in 90% of the real situations where you can perform. So that's something that makes very difficult to practice for real people. But on the other hand, many competition acts are not made to be performed for, they don't require audiences. It's just maybe visual, or so.
Well, stage numbers are people who do stage are luckier than close up, right? Because, for example, I've watched like a lot of acts on the stage, and all of them are performing like in galas or in different conventions, so they have like the same conditions in theaters. I don't know, maybe they are luckier. That's why they are like performing in the same conventions every time. But it's close-up magic. It's do it wherever.
Oh, but it's also kind of fucked up.
That's another story. I think you know, Alvaro. Anyone who has compete in a close-up competition know that, I'm not going to say all, but in my experience, what I have seen and what I have experienced, 90% of the conventions where I have been for close-up competitions, the conditions for the close-up set were always the worst. Like, the people cannot see, they are so far. You have the judge in front of you, but
if stage is like this,
the stage is like wherever you perform with a camera. I think, I don't know you are, but I have never found any close-up contest with a good camera that you can actually see the table. Well, I'm going to talk from my experience when I was in FISM 2015. We made the rehearsal with some lights, blah blah blah, and then during the competition they turned off the general lights, so the light was different, and my whole act was kind of white. I mean, the screen was white, and the funny thing is that in my set I do something like the deck turn, all the cards change to a blank deck of cards. And nobody noticed the difference because it was all the time blank. So now they're blank. But it's funny that conditions are not the best in competitions for close up. So it goes with the same thing that we are talking about. that even competitions are performed in weird conditions, which are not real close-up. So in one hand, I criticize that those acts are not made to be performed for lay audiences, but on the other hand, who cares? Because even competitions are very weird. You don't know if you need to fool people or the criteria are very strange. I don't know. I enjoyed that time because I really like to. It's really nice because you go around, you travel to different conventions, you meet. It's a period of time when you meet many people because you start like moving to different countries. But on the other hand, all this thing about compete and all this stuff, it's another story.
Yeah.
But I would say it's also pretty fucked up in some way. Sorry. No, but it's also pretty fucked up in some way, like the way that it's treated, right? Because we say like, oh, this person or this person, like, I don't know how it's in Spain, but in the Netherlands, they're very often praised, you know?
So sorry, we are the Flu Magicians Club.
Yeah, what?
The flu, like gripe, the Flu Magicians Club. The three of us are like fucking sick. So sorry, continue. So sorry for cutting you.
No worries.
Yeah.
So very often, I see here like someone won like a close-up competition, and they're like praised, like, oh, this guy is so good, and people should go learn from him, blah 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 blah. But then I look at the act, and I'm like, doesn't work for in real life, doesn't work for normal people. There's a lot of stuff wrong with it. It just fooled a bunch of magicians, but they know, like in the Netherlands, I don't know, like they don't necessarily know so much stuff, I guess. And then it's like, oh, you have to be creative or original. And then someone does something from a book that's like 100 years old, and they say, oh, it was so creative. He was so original. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it happened the same here. I mean, everywhere. It could happen everywhere because the criteria of the judge, if they don't know that all trick, but it's interesting what you say, because I will say that not some magicians who go to contests or competitions, they are people who actually they don't know a lot about magic, but they spend probably a lot of time working on this like competition act. But maybe the act is good. I'm not saying the act is not good, but we should not judge that people's knowledge because of their acts, because
exactly,
even if the competition act is good, it doesn't mean that they know a lot about magic or they are good teaching magic, which is something different, or they have, because we all know that it's once you won some competition, you go lecturing, like and but most we know, we have been there in those lectures. They just try to find something on their whole life material to make a bunch of things and go for lectures. Now that they have that chance because they won the competition, people, I don't know, I don't want to say
say it.
No, I mean the thing that you won a competition doesn't mean that you are ready to lecture or that you know more or less about magic. It's something different.
But I think you're right. Yeah,
competitions are like a whole separate part of magic. Like,
but that's weird, right? Because I think if you look at like the time when Fred Kaps was still alive, for example, like he would do on stage similar stuff as to what he would do in a theater. I mean, of course, it was a different time and you could live off a 20-30 minute act, where that's usually not possible now. But I have sort of a feeling like if I see older magic videos and stuff people did in competitions, that stuff that was done back then is also like stuff that was actually performable. and competitions now are more leaning towards fooling other magicians. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but how do you see this?
Yeah, but don't you think that at that time probably most of those magicians were actually professionals, and probably they did on competition the same that they do in their professional act. And nowadays, and I don't think it's something bad, but competitions are open to. I mean, there are thousands of people who are into magic. I mean, there are more people into magic. It's much more. It is much popular, which is really good. Competitions are open to everyone. Yeah, I will say that somehow, and that's something, if we go deep into this competition topic, first of all, we should think about like what's the criteria that what's the goal that they have in mind when they do the act. Because if you want to win the competition, some people try to focus on fooling some people, or you need to focus on like doing something visual. But I have like different like opposite like mixed feelings about what you should do. Because if sometimes, not very often, but someone asks me, I want to do a magic act, a competition act, what should I do? And I always say, do something that you like to do, that you can do like everywhere. But when you see the kind of acts that usually won competitions, it's something that is made for the camera nowadays. Yeah, I mean, maybe I wanted to go to that point. Nowadays, close-up competition acts are not close-up magic acts, are like magic acts made to be seen through a camera with all the pros and cons that you can find on it. But there are some like technical pros that you have, like, you know, we all know that all the black art thing,
the angles,
all the angles, this thing that nowadays in a competition and on the backstage you can find like 3 or 4 tables, because each competitor go with their own table, which is kind of like weird. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sometimes it's fine, but some people, their tables are like a piece of engineering. Which is interesting somehow. But I mean, I think you get the point that close-up magic for competitions nowadays is more like close-up magic for a camera, which is something that changed the whole game. It's not the same. We are talking about a different story.
Yeah,
and maybe I'm very like old mind about it, old school, and I in my mind I would prefer to see like some like real close-up magic for people. And I think in the past it was more like this, not, I mean, 10 years ago. Yeah. But now the trend is more it's going in that direction, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't been in many competitions lately, but I think that's kind of like this.
So you would want the competition more to be like the close-up gallery in the Magic Castle, like such an environment.
Yeah, with maybe that could be nice.
Would Aragon does a competition in Toledo. The conditions are better for stand-up card magic, for example, this kind of things. But it's really nice because the place is quite small compared to big theater, and you can become perfectly like close-up magic. But there is something else. This thing that I'm going to say, I think it's going to take us to a different section of this podcast. I think in the past when, well, not always, but the best FISM prizes in the past, when someone won an award, it was because this person was like one of the best at the moment. So I'm thinking of, for example, Ascanio won the award, and he was developing at that time, all his philosophy. Or Tamaris won the award, and he was developing all his works about the magic way. Later mnemonica, but magic way mainly, it's like the main work of his magic career. Or for example, Pepe Carroll was having like very creative and different styles and plots in magic. But Pepe Carroll was different because he quit close-up magic after winning the award. So the question is the next one. Do you think is doing your act and winning some awards, it's this thing, like this fact event gave you like as a seal or something, like it was like a trampoline to go to something else, because you've been working, for example, the short corner or the cut corner, and that's something that not many people work in magic. But for example, in your case, you were using some resources like these ones in your routine, and then you have been keep working on these kind of things. Do you think you can compare these kind of situations, like, because your act can be performed anywhere? So do you think it's similar to say like, yeah, I wanted to do something like more not classic but affordable for different occasions, and then it gives you like the trampoline to keep working on these things?
Yeah, I think that I will say that, as I say before, maybe I started with this kind of old school mindset that from the very beginning, in my mind, I wanted my act competition. Every time that I say act, it's difficult for me. My competition act, I wanted to be able to perform in my regular performance. So I wanted to be able to do it in real conditions. I didn't want to require. And I think it's just a personal decision. It's something that you set from the beginning. You set some conditions for yourself, some limitation, somehow help you to define what you want to do. So I wanted to be able to perform this in real situations. So I took material that I was working at that time, and I built the act. And what I did in my act competition was made to be performed everywhere. And I practiced the routine before with lay people. At that time, I was not performing so often. I was younger, and I was not as active as a performer and a professional. So it was more difficult for me to find like a group of people to perform the routine. but yeah, and one of the things that I was talking is that, as you say, yeah, I took things that I was already working on, which are like things that I keep doing now, like what I call like asymmetric transpositions. I think that for almost my whole magic career, I have been thinking and working about travelers, like like Vernon's Travelers, or everything about this plot. And in my competition, I wanted to do in competition things that I was really interested to work on. So I include some travelers, some transpositions that I was working on. It's I'm still interested and I like to do. Honestly, I don't perform competition nowadays. I did it for some time, but I must be honest, it's not because it was not possible, it's because it was difficult. Because it was a very technical act. I mean, it required like a lot of technique, and in somehow the when something is very technical, it doesn't allow you, or it doesn't allow me, in my case, to focus on communication or to communicate with my audience. I was very like focused on the inside, like I need to do everything right because you need to work a lot. And so I stopped doing it because of that. I must confess. But it was an act that I could do it. And yeah, maybe somehow, as I say, it was a good time, a creative time for me, because I really work on those things that I like the travelers. And as you say, like it was maybe it was my first attempt using the short corner cars, which is something that nowadays is one of the things that I really work with. At that time, I was something that I use specially to help me with certain points in the routine, but with time and also with the influence of other magicians, like especially Alberto de Figueiredo, I start using short corners as a regular my daily weapon. Yeah, I don't know if I will come up with that without this, but yeah, I will say that from the very beginning, I built my act wanted to be able to perform for real people, and I did it, and that's what I usually recommend people. Because if you are going to invest a lot of time, effort, and many resources preparing something huge, at least you should be able to keep something for yourself and for the future. Because I think many people that create like the full competition act, if they stop performing it, they cannot like take anything for themselves.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, all the points that you've given, like for doing a competition act as well. Because when I'm thinking about competition acts, like I did one when I was 16 or 17, maybe no, I was 18, and it was horrible. I won third prize, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh my god, this was so fucking impractical. Like they had to set up a whole screen in front of me because I didn't think about how to load the deck under my knee. So they had to put the screen there so I could sit at the table and just load the deck under my knee for the deck switch. It was fucking horrible. But when I'm thinking about competitions now, I just think about, why would anyone want to do this other than for their marketing? You know, just to say, oh, I won the first prize in this competition, national championship, book me. But I think you've given very interesting points. Like it helps you with creativity. It's fun to do. It's you can really dive deep into something, and it gives you a reason to dive deep into a subject. But what are other reasons, like pros, you would say that you would get out of competitions? Like other reasons to do it other than just winning a prize and having this for your marketing?
What was the question?
What other reasons are there to do the competition other than just saying I want to win a prize?
What was the question? If you want a bag, you want a bag for?
I don't know. I think that the main reason should be to do it, to learn, to go through this learning process, enjoy the process. And that's the, I don't know, I because everyone says it doesn't matter if you want or you don't want, because the important is the process. But of course, when you go, you desire inside of
losers.
Of course, you have this desire inside of you that you would like to win something. But then I think that the most something that in my experience, what I have seen, I think that many people have this idea that if they want something important, they will make a career, or they will be like well known or something like this, like it's going to help them professionally. I'm really sorry to say that if you are a close-up magician, probably you could win the first the first prize in the galaxy. Well, I'm going to talk seriously. There are so many competitions every year, and FISM is every 3 years. Even if you won the FISM, if you don't really have something important to show after that, you are going to get forgotten. People are going to forget you. I mean, think about how many people that want something important there are nowadays on the hot spot, no? How you say, like doing something important. Not many of them. So even if you win, it's fine for some time. You can maybe in your country do some tour, but there are not so many close-up galas. And so, well, I want to say that it's funny, but if you work on a stage, even if you don't win any prize, probably you are going to work professionally more than the one who won the first prize in the close-up, because there are more options for people because people who hire people for galas, they need some profiles, like the funny act, the stage illusions. So even if you don't win, probably you are going to be hired more than the guy who won the first prize in the close-up, because there are not so many close-up galas. So that's the first point. Maybe you want to use it for your own marketing. If you want to use it for your own marketing, okay, but you should know that FISM doesn't mean anything for anyone outside of the magic world. So and I think that we know that you can say, I'm the first prize of my village, and you can. Nobody really cares. Even only if you say that you are a champion of the world. Well, maybe that's something for some time, but for many competitions, those awards are not that important, and because I don't know. I know that I'm always changing the topic, going around.
No, please change as much as you want.
But yeah, I will say that in my experience, and not because my experience, but what I talk especially because what I have seen. Competitions are not the key to success in the professional magic world, for magicians or for lay people. Probably competitions are not going to be the key for success. It can help, and for some people, of course, it was the trampoline, and you can be the next one, but do not be disappointed if you make a lot of effort, because going to competition, you need to spend some money, because you need to travel, to pay. Well, something very funny, we need to pay for the convention's inscriptions. even if we compete, yeah. Even if we compete, so we pay to perform. And do you know, guys, some close-up competition with money prize? I don't know so many. I think we know, for example, here, Alvaro, we know that some poem competition for kids in the village of my grandma has some money prize, and in magic you won the highest award, and you know, and you need to pay for it.
Well, there are a couple of questions as well interesting, like points here. For example, Shimling won like the FISM, but then he went to the International Got Talent. He won it, and his life is on the waving on the top of the wave because he won the Got Talent. And
that's interesting. First of all, Shilin was known before FISM in the Magic world. He was on FISM. He won first prize share with Horrid Gu.
With who?
Horrid Gu.
Oh.
But he's well known all around the world, not because of that, but mostly because of Americans Got Talent.
After that, he went to Ellen DeGeneres and many other very famous TV shows.
He became more famous because of Got Talent than because of the FISM. Of course, he was in the Magic community. He was well known. He was very famous before going to FISM because the act that we saw on FISM was the same that he was performing before. I think he was in Fulas before going to FISM. I'm not sure. So I think he did. I'm not sure, but he did the same routine. So yeah, well, Chilin could be one of the examples of someone that you say that became really famous, but he was not. He's actually nowadays he's not that famous because of that. It's for Americans Got Talent, social media, blah blah blah. Well, there are many, but for example, the guy who won the Grand Prix that year, because it was not Shilin. Many people think that Shilin was that prize, but it was not Shilin. It was how is the name? I forgot the name of this guy. You know,
and that's how important the Grand Prix is. Yes.
And he won the Grand Prix. I'm so upset that I don't remember.
Paul Gordon.
No.
I like how you just go no.
No, it was not Paul Gordon.
No, please.
Well, this guy, Pierrick.
Yeah,
Pierrick won the Grand Prix. And Pierrick is not very well known among the magicians. I have never seen him on any like conventions artist. Probably he's working a lot because he seems to me that he's more a professional for lay people, and that's something that you can feel. I mean, when you are on a convention and you see some people, you can feel that they are used to perform for lay audiences. It's something interesting, but
it doesn't mean they are not like magicians, but for example, especially about the money on competitions. Do you remember what happened to Eduardo Hoffman and I when we went to Finland?
that you didn't get the first prize because you were not from the North country.
Yeah, especially they told us, look, we have given one more point to the guy from Sweden, so he's going to win the award. And we were like, okay. They told us, we told you guys you could compete, but we didn't tell you like we could get the money. It was like 2,000 euros prize, and we were there like, what the fuck? You know, like we were laughing a lot. And when they call us, we went to the little stage, and there's a picture where I'm like, you know, like smiling, but like a forced smile, like because I wanted to leave because I felt very bad. And Hugo was telling, you shut up and stay here because they are going to give you an award. And we were saying like, no, they are not. And Hugo was saying, yeah. So we went to the stage, and I was like, and Eduardo was like very, very sad and angry like this. And I was saying, what the fuck is going on? Smile something for the picture. And he said, yeah, but they gave us something, and I can't read anything, so I don't know what they are giving us. Maybe it's like an award to the worst act ever. You know, it's in Finnish. I can understand.
That was a different story. It was because some special rules in this competition in the northern countries, but it was something something different. It was
So
funny, but
the competition was racist.
I don't know. They were very nice with us, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially because they didn't have to pay us, so. But they were very nice. They were.
You were the international competition.
Oh, you guys were great. Fucking idiots. You were amazing.
Yeah. Well, but look, in the jury, we could. I can remember, like, Eric Jones was there, Woody Aaron was there, the guy who organizes from Finland, who organizes like the FISM as well. Who else? Do you remember anyone else?
I don't remember anything about it. I was competing there, but I remember that because in certain point I stopped doing competition, so I did my act from convention to convention. And the funny thing is that I always forgot the set. So every competition, I need to try to remember how the deck was set up, and I think I made a mistake, and it was not my best performance in this competition.
Oh, true, it's true. Oh my god,
I have some problem.
Yeah. But we had a lot of fun. Like, for example, Shane Cobalt was there. We met him for the first time. Do you remember? Like, he was like pretty similar to the Spanish comedian Danny Rovira. We were laughing. Or we met like Maddie Gilbert, and we were doing performance on Magic, or with Mika Falconem. He was such a nice guy there. So I think we had fun, you know.
That's the best part of competitions. As I was saying, the good part is to travel, to meet new people. That's really nice. And of course, if you are lucky and you want something, you enjoy it, you are happy about it, and that's it. But it's not going to change your life, and you should not let this thing to make you believe that you are better than anyone. Because if you start like competing and you want something, you could have you could make the mistake to believe that you are better than you really are, just because you won a couple of competitions, which is something like very small in your whole life. In my case, I think that I made that mistake when I think I was lucky and unlucky that I won the prize in my first competition. So somehow it like hypertrophy my ego. But fortunately, in my second competition, I screw up. I had to leave the stage in the middle of the act. And it was like what we call a cure of
humble cure, right?
Humble cure. Well, that was something extra that I wanted to add, because it happens that to win a prize doesn't mean anything. I mean, I don't know, maybe nowadays I'm more like from this point of view, like
for parents and the neighborhood, you know, like for the hood, like, hey, look at this guy. But
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, one more question. Okay, I don't know if Rico, you have another one, but I have one very interesting question, because, well, I don't want to push you to talk about this, but you've been on social media, you've been teaching magic, you are like experto in magia, like expert in magic account, and you've been like well, discussing magic and talking things and having like some subscribers. What do you think about learning magic today and social media and all these kind of things. Can you talk a little bit about your experience on all these things, how you became a millionaire?
Yeah, digital marketing expert that made millions. I can teach you in a free webinar. I will show you how to make 6 figures with your magic online course. Well, no.
every time I hear like the word webinar, it sounds in my mind like suck my balls and pay my money, you know. pay my rent.
Wow. Actually, I mean, well, I think we are going to talk about all the topics that I have very mixed feelings about. Well, especially, well, I think that the whole thing about social media, it's something that I will say I'm not really passionate about it. Well, I will start saying that, yeah, I started like 1.5 years ago an Insta account, which was initially made to not to teach. Well, teach, I don't know how to say in English, divulgación is like,
yeah, like discussing magic, like like when you publish magic and discoursing. Fuck, I don't find the word.
Well,
let me
well, basically it was an account where I usually give some tips, recommendations,
divulgation. Divulgation release.
I talk about, yeah, I usually make like short videos talking about certain things, about techniques, like details, like when you do a force and you need to cut the deck, do not cut and go straight to the dribble, because you need to make the pause before the I mean, all those kind of theoretical and technical tips that I see that many people usually don't do it, or they have some issue, they have some trouble doing something like the Emsley count. The right hand shouldn't move. You only move your left hand. So yeah, I don't know. Everything starts during the quarantine. So I started doing some videos and it was fun. It was something new that I wanted to try, because the thing is that I follow many accounts, because the thing is that I'm a person who is interested in many things out of magic, like nutrition, fitness. I'm also, I have a degree in psychology. I mean, I like many things. So I follow a lot of accounts about nutrition, fitness, many stuff. And I noticed that there was not good account in magic talking about this kind of stuff. Actually, a little bit after that, I found your account, because you start like with some like talking about some small things about theory, all this stuff, because I noticed that many people don't know how to apply some Ascanius principles, or they don't know about it, or they don't know how to use it properly. So I wanted to do something not only explaining tricks. That is the only way that we can, the only thing that we found on YouTube or anywhere. Like, teaching magic is not only teaching tricks, like exposing tricks. I wanted to talk about some other stuff, like how to make your magic better, something like this. I want people to do better magic by giving some tips. So I start doing this kind of content, and people really like it, because I think it was something different. I feel myself, so I do the videos, which is, I think is fine. And I was doing this for 1.5 years. Unfortunately, I closed the account like 1 week ago, like some days ago. I decided to quit from social media, at least for this project. Well, that's something, another story, but yeah. But in general, my opinion is that there is not so much good content. I should make the differentiate to make the difference. First of all, accounts like learning magic on social media, I will say that it's basically impossible. I mean, of course, I mean, there is no good, like, I mean, you are not going to learn magic on social media, not even on YouTube. Maybe there are some people who make good content on YouTube, probably in English, not in Spanish, not so much. There are not so many accounts with just this kind of content. But not only that, I want to, well, nobody know me, nobody care what I say. So I will say that for me, most of the magic that you see in social media, well, I don't know how to say it. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think people post wherever it comes to their minds just to have the likes, and I don't know. It helped me to notice that most of the people who follow magic, no, I don't want to say that.
No, say it.
No,
they don't like the approbation of the rest of them, or
no, that people like, and I don't know, in my criteria, I see so many things which I don't think it's good. But now I read the comments and I see amazing, the best, so smooth, you fooled me. And I was like, what are your standards in magic? I mean, and it's kind of discouraged me, or that to see that nowadays the standards in magic are made of what we see in social media, because social media magic, for me, it's like, as we were talking about, like about competitions, it's like another special format. It's another format. So, and I understand many people will say that, well, it's a different format, it's fine, it's something different, it's the future, blah, blah, blah. I understand, maybe I'm a little bit, because some friends of mine, for example, make some kind of good content on social media. Mario Lopez, he made some really nice stuff, but and they have their opinion that it's something that they like to explore, be creative in this format with their own good and bad things. But for me, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like people abuse. I think people abuse of the format. Like, you know, we all know, I mean, I'm tired to see people doing like this with the black card. I'm tired to see people just doing this with a flap card. I don't know. I think that there are not so many. I don't know. The problem is that now I understand that I think nowadays many people when they start in magic, they have a lot of influence from the social media. And I'm afraid that somehow this is going to create some distortion of the reality of the path that they should go through to learn to be a good magician.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think that's the point. I'm not against magic in social media. I mean, there are really good magic, and some things maybe I don't like because it's my own taste. I like some stuff. So maybe I don't like some stuff. But my fear is that people misunderstood that's only a small part of what makes, because we know that in social media, magic is made to be visual, very fast. It has their own issues about, like, not issues, but requirements. It needs to be like blah, 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 I don't know, some and I don't know, because if someone, and on the other hand, no, yeah, that's it.
No, but no, but I think you're right. It's definitely an interesting thing to think about. The way that people perceive magic. And I mean, maybe it has to do with the magic market as well, you know, because visual stuff sells really easy on the market, and then the magic market sells you reactions. So they show some visual thing and you think, whoa, and then they show a group of people all go like, whoa, and then you think like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, I should buy this.
Well, I guess, I mean, only in the last months I have started to see on the trailers from the new products good for social media.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like in the
branch of magic, branch.
Yeah, but that's what I think was really cool about Arapan. Like I haven't read Arapan Ong's book, Principia, but I've heard many good things about it. And it was cool that some things in the book, like I believe he said about it also when selling it, like that some things were only meant for social media. Like they were not meant to be performed in person. And I think that's very honest and very cool to be like, well, this stuff is just for social media. There's other stuff you can do whenever you want, but this stuff is just for that. Because he recognizes there's a market in that as well. And I think there is a market and we should be honest about that.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I understand that even like normal magic that you read in a book, some tricks who has some angles or whatever, you know that they are not made to be performed everywhere. Like not all magic it's made to be performed everywhere. So that if we apply this criteria, of course we could consider that there are some magic which are made just to be performed on social media, the same way that some tricks require you to have a table because you need to use the lab. But I don't know. I feel that the magic that I see on social media, my feeling, and I think that that's one of the points. I will say that most of, not all. I don't. I'm sure there are some. I'm not going to say all, but most, or at least the majority of people who are really well known on the social media world of magic, they do not perform at all for lay audiences. So how could we? And those are the los referentes.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say.
Refers.
But I find it a difficult referral point as well, because I mean there are also magicians that like I think your point is like very valid and very good, right? And I completely agree with you. But there are also some people that are professional magicians that perform like 2, 3, 4 times a week, but they have been doing the same material for the past 20 years and they haven't learned anything new in that time. So it, of course, like I think in both we have the extremes. Like I don't think that saying you're famous on social media is saying you're a good or bad magician, but the other way around also not.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's a bad magician, good or bad magician. I'm talking more about the people who are going to watch that magic. And if you are starting in magic, maybe you are not able to find the difference and notice that that style, that timing, that kind of material are not really made to be performed, or at least it's not the best that you can do for lay audiences. I don't know.
But in some way, like looking at it also, like in Spain, I think you are or were very, very lucky that, for example, like your famous magicians like Juan Tamariz, for example, or you had Pepe Carol, who was famous. they were actually great magicians. Where I see in a lot of countries, the people that are on TV and famous, like trying to do David Blaine style stuff, make nice stuff for TV, but are not that great or knowledgeable in real life.
I think that, well, yeah, well, everything that I say, that I'm talking now, it's just what I believe today, which could not be what I believe in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very subjective to my experience, my point of view. But yeah, I think that we all have our bias.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that maybe, of course, I'm very biased by my point of view, in my maybe in my feelings. Like to be a professional magician means to have a show or perform for lay audiences, but maybe I'm not like considering other ways. But I don't know. I don't know, because if you try to, for example, if you see David Blaine, you see what he does in their specials, TV shows, blah, blah, blah. And you can see many people doing some street magic. But how you take this street magic, approaching people, doing some like mentalism, card magic, really cool tricks, how you take it to the professional world? Because maybe I'm very biased, because I think that you need to perform a show, some kind of show to be professional, for corporates, wedding, for parties, for theater. You need to perform a 45, 50-minute show. But how you took the street magic, like, hey guys, do you want to see some magic? How you take it to like a real performance for a corporate, something like this? But maybe there is, maybe in other places like restaurant magic or like walk around, you could make a living for that. But it's not the case here. I don't know.
Maybe
like in the Netherlands, there is very few work in shows. In acts, and I wish there was much more work in that, because I love to do stand-up magic. But most, like, it depends on the country, I think. But I believe like Netherlands and also America, like a lot of money can be made in walk-around magic. Like if I get booked, 95% of my gigs is walk-around magic.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can also work around here, but usually you walk around and then you do some parlor.
Yeah.
A small
definitely.
show. I don't know. Yeah.
And I think also,
yeah, I mean,
also like knowing about parlor magic helps your walk around, right?
What?
Like knowing like how parlor magic works helps you to do walk around magic also.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I would say yeah. Well, not necessarily, but yeah. Well, I probably doing being good at parlor helps you with walk around more than walk around with parlor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And maybe in the future we find like some companies, organizing like online conventions and hiring like YouTube magicians to close like the online convention, like performing for a little camera, like it'd be awesome. Actually, it'd be awesome.
The problem, well, not the problem, but I don't know. It's that maybe that's something that is just my sometimes, because nowadays numbers in social media are important for some people. Even so, and I saw recently that there is one guy in Spain who has an Insta account where he performed like some short tricks for people. This kind of clickbait images, like those kind of small things, also to trying to make some like fun stuff. I don't know. I knew that guy. I knew the account. I don't follow him, but I I recently found that he has a show somewhere here in Madrid. Because the thing is that sometimes people who are like huge in social media got that opportunity to they are like offered to do something like this, and I was really curious to see what he can offer in a real show, because so the problem, I will say that most of the time when that people have the chance to do real shows, you don't, they are not that, they don't really know
Good,
what to do.
real, yeah.
Well, but maybe that's not the case. I don't know, but I have so many prejudices about that. I don't know.
To end the podcast, I think it's a good way to say, like, you said you were afraid that people are going to see magic on social media at one point when they start out and think that this is the right, proper way to learn magic, like the best way. So what according to you is like the best way to learn magic, or at least the best way for someone to find themselves in magic?
Through invisible practice, motherfuckers.
No, man, fuck invisible practice.
Follow invisible practice. I think, and I want to say that if in the case that someone arrive, like watch the whole podcast and it's here, I think that the main reason why I'm very critic about, as you can see, I'm very like I critique social media, and I say that I don't like so many things, blah blah blah. It's not that I am that like this. I think that the point is that I like people. I like good magic. I like magic, and I like to watch good magic, and I would like people to do good magic, and I would like people to perform good magic for audience, so people have good experience with magic. So maybe that's why I'm somehow afraid that nowadays people don't really care about learning in what I believe is the proper way. With games to your question, I think that I sound really old school in the whole podcast, but
oh yeah, you sound so old.
I think in this case we agree. I mean, I think there is no better way to learn magic than reading at the beginning. You need to read, but you need to, nowadays with so many options, not only books, but many stimuli like videos, courses, so many information all around, and it's very difficult for the beginner to know the path, or even if they start the right path, they are going to be attracted by many things. Honestly, I don't know if I would be able to be the guy that I'm not. I don't know if I would start now. I don't know if I could be able to follow the path that I follow 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I know that I would be very confused. I would be my mind. It's for me, it's very difficult to focus on only one thing. I'm always jumping all around, and I think that I was lucky that 15 years ago there was not so many, even if it was not so long ago, there was not so many information, only Bill Malone videos. best videos ever. So I think one of the best ways is to read, but somehow you need, I think that another way is to find a group of friends who share this passion with you, so you can like motivate yourself, share some magic. But you also need to practice. I mean, if you like magic, you need to practice. And I will say that if you really like magic, I know that you are going to practice, because if you have the necessity inside of you to do something good, and if you respect magic and you want to do good magic, you are going to practice. You need to practice. So I will say that the proper or the best way to learn some magic is to start with, I don't know, now it's not that difficult, but it requires time. I think that the problem maybe is that you need to spend some time. I mean, we all know magic is so good and bad because when we start, we can do magic very soon, and we could make the mistake to believe that we already know how to do some magic very, very soon. But I don't know. It's very. I will say that it's very easy if you start like with the card college.
Mm-hmm.
Card college number 1, 2, 3. I always say, if you really know what everything that's inside card college 1, 2, 3, you can perform 80% of all magic that exists. You need to add some scanios and a little bit of theory, but once you know the basics, you can continue the way you want. But you need to, I always say, you need to know the basics. All the basic techniques, you need to know how to. I know it sounds funny, but you see people that they don't know how to keep a break or to obtain the top card break, because people sometimes forget about the basics. They try to go too fast for the DPS and they don't know how to do the basics. And that's required time, and sometimes going a couple of steps back to keep going in, because you need to be sure that you are not missing some important points.
So the best way, the best way to start to learn magic is like quitting magic before starting, right?
Do not start, please. Do not start in magic. No, I don't know. I will say that, yeah. I mean, I'm a really big fan of books. I really think that it's the proper way to learn. I know that there is really good like video content nowadays, but I agree with this idea that if you read it, you need to process. It's more difficult. It's more difficult because I remember myself reading for the first time the La Reverse Tour Over, and I was like, I don't understand what's that. I mean, I try, you don't get the idea, like doing the Brow edition, like what's that? And you all this process, do not understanding, you need to read many times. I truly believe that all this, that if someone is somehow a little bit difficult, it's more rewarding after all the work. Somehow it helps you to keep going. I don't know. I think that there is something about reading and practicing that let's be honest. Do you know any good magician in the world that says that he doesn't read books?
Never.
I don't know anyone that say, no, I know, I think books, I never start reading books. I watch a couple of videos, but no, many people, most of the people that are really like good in magic, they read.
I think that was the best reason. Do you know any magician, any good magician?
If someone says something about it, do you know?
It's a good one.
It's a good question.
Well,
yeah.
No, you know why it's not a good one? Because if you ask someone, tell me someone who doesn't read books, which is a good magician. They are going to tell you someone, and you will have to stop yourself to saying, that's not a good one.
Yeah, the thing is, like, the problem is your criteria.
Claro, exactly. And then you will see the problem. They will tell you someone who is going to surprise you.
I don't want to name anyone, but I have some on mind. So.
Yeah.
So this question is the recipe for a good discussion, a nice beer, and a bar fight?
Yeah.
In an Irish bar, right?
So Hugo, thank
Nice.
you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you, and I hope to meet you soon sometime.
Yeah.
Well, same guys. I really thank you for inviting me here. I know that maybe it was I don't know what you expect from this podcast. I think it was a really nice conversation, more like a conversation than an interview of a big figure in the magic community. But it was really nice. I really enjoy talking about all these topics with you. And I hope you have a really big success with your account, because I think it's really nice and you made really good content. So
Thank you.
keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hugo. It was a pleasure. Thank you. See you next time. So guys, thank you so much. It was like the 16th episode. So see you in the next one. Take care, guys.